John Giles, how you keeping, John?
I'm okay, Nathan. Yourself?
I'm all right. I say welcome back. The way the football world works right now, there is no break. You're only off for a week.
No. We didn't get. You couldn't go on your holidays anyway, Nathan. That's for sure.
No, that is for sure. Sure. There's a lot to talk about as we head into the new season, both with Lionel Messi's move to Paris Saint-Germain and all that's going on to the Premier League. But since you were last on, very sadly, two of your former Leeds United teammates passed away, Mick Bates and Terry Cooper. Mick Bates is someone whose name I haven't heard mentioned a huge amount over the years, probably because it was a time where there weren't substitutions and that sort of great Leeds 11 is set in stone in our heads, and he was, it feels, was almost number 12.
Yeah, well, he was 12, 13, 14, Nathan. He played over 200 matches for Leeds in the time he was there, because we had so many matches, and he was very versatile. You know, he could fit in for Eddie Gray or Peter Lorimer, but mostly for Billy Bremner and myself. And
was there any rotation in those days? Would there be occasion where Don Reevy would just say, actually, John or Billy, I'm just going to take you out today and rest you, and I'm going to give Mick a go? No, it didn't happen in those days, Nathan. I mean, the big situation in those days, Shankly was one of the main people to say it, that the less people I have to change the team for, the better. Right. And there was 42 matches, league matches in those days, but that was his, and I think it was true. In other words, of course, injuries, you had to have players to fit in. But generally speaking, I think the idea was the more you played the same team together, the better chance you had of winning the league. That's what Shankly said. But then you got, obviously, there weren't as many matches then. Well, there were European Cup matches. There's not quite as many international matches as there is today, Nathan. But there was still a lot of matches, you know. So you had to have players like Mick Bates. And Mick was a very, very versatile player and a very good player. Really, really good player. I always felt with Mick, I never actually said it to him, but I think he should have moved from Leeds much earlier than he did. He was good enough to play in the first division for any club, Nathan. But he loved the club. He was on the ground staff when I went there. I was only 22. Mick would have been 16, 17 at that stage. A real Yorkshire lad, and loved the club. He loved his time at the club, and he wouldn't move. He didn't want to move. And Dom was very clever too in terms of the financial situation. Mick was on all the bonuses that we were on. Right. So he was always part of it. And him and Terry Yorrett was another one that played quite a lot of matches. But when we were regarded as the first team, Mick wouldn't have been in that team. But he loved it. You know, he loved when we good atmosphere at the club, the training and all the various things. And Don looked after him in a financial way. But Mick was a very, very good player and a very, very good lad. Really good lad. Well, by the sounds of it, in the position he was in, being a good lad was almost as important, because he did go on and play over 200 games for Leeds, so he was obviously, as you say, very talented. But when you're not always in the first team, you need the right sort of personalities around who are probably keeping you honest to training and putting pressure on, but also aren't bringing a negativity and throwing toys out of the pram when they're not getting their chances. Oh no, definitely not. I mean, Mick was like that. Well, we had a few, but Mick and Terry Yorrett, Terry was a Welsh international, played quite a lot of matches as well. But if you were picking the first team, especially for midfield players, like first of all there was Bobby Collins before me, and then when these lads got older, there was myself and Billy Bremner, who would have been like the first choice in the first team, Nathan. But we needed a backup as well. I mean, like Billy didn't get injured very often, but he obviously would miss some matches the same as I did. Yeah. So Mick Bates coming into it, or Terry Yorrett coming into it, really, really were good players and would have been in the first team, I think, almost anywhere else. Did you ever feel under pressure? They were good. They were good lads, and Mick was a lovely, great character lad. You know, was honest as the day is long, and loved being part of the club with the players and that. During your time at Leeds, did you ever feel under real pressure for your position in the team once you had firmly established yourself and maybe taken over from Bobby Collins in the middle?
not. I don't want to be big-headed about it, but not really, Nathan. I was with Don. I was never dropped out of the team until very, very late in my career. I had an injury, a long injury, and I came back and I wasn't playing very well, and they left me out. But generally speaking, I wasn't left out of the team, and certainly there was no way Billy was going to be left out of the team. You know, I think Don liked me, but he loved Billy.
And there was never any chance of complacency setting in?
No. Well, to be honest, Nathan, you know, when you're a professional footballer, you should never be complacent anyway.
Yeah. Players are.
We were a lot of good pros at Leeds in terms of, like, I never took my position for granted. Because every match you played in, you wanted to do your best. And that was, you know, that's what makes a great team. It's a consistency. And Leeds were a very consistent team over a number of years. That was mainly because every game you played, you put the same effort into it. There wasn't a big game. Actually, the time that you were playing, Nathan, whenever you felt it was easy, you were guaranteed to lose.
Yeah.
In other words, the teams that you played against, the mentality that we had, and well, it was certainly my mentality, that the team that you were expected to beat, the only way they could beat you, if you didn't put as much effort in as they did, right? So when you had played those teams, you put more effort in than they did. Now, that didn't work all the time because we had some bad results as well over the long periods of time. But generally speaking, we were a very, very, very consistent team, and you respect the opposition. And you don't take anything for granted.
On Terry Cooper, from reading up on him, it seems that maybe early in his career it looked like he might have a Mick Bates style career where he was struggling to fully establish himself in the Leeds team. Might have started out as a bit more of a left winger, wasn't quite happening for him, and then eventually went and managed to make that left back spot his own. Yeah.
Well, the first time I saw Terry playing, I was at Manchester United watching the reserve team match. Man U versus Leeds, and this is just a short time after Don took over.
Right. And
then they used to play an old yellow, golden, blue. I never liked their strip, and now they changed on to them into the all whites, and they looked a really good team in the reserves. Well, Manchester United always had a very good reserve team, and Terry was playing outside left. As you say, he was a winger early on, Nathan, and I thought he looked a really, really good player. I didn't know him. But I thought he looked a really good player.
Yeah.
And then when I went to Leeds, he was still a left winger. Willie Bell, a lad called Willie Bell, was the left back. And Don did that with a lot of players. He said, right, we'll put him to left back and see how he goes from there. Because generally speaking, lads with talent, the further they go back, the better chance they have because they're facing the ball. And Terry was a perfect example of that.
Right.
Got into the team, stayed in the team. But another terrific player, Nathan, in terms of, I mean, he played for England, as we know. And you had the like in those days you didn't have wing backs, but you had attacking full backs. So when Terry got into an attacking position, he was originally a left winger, and he was able to beat players, Nathan.
Right.
You know, which is unusual. No, you get a lot of people with attacking full backs, good, but they won't beat players. But Terry could beat players. He was an exceptionally good player, really, really was. He was established in the England team, and then he broke his leg. Later on, and really never recovered from it. He didn't really get back into the Leeds team, and he went to Middlesbrough from there. But a top class player,
he was,
and a top class lad as well.
Yeah, I was going to ask, in terms of personality, what type was he?
He was good. He was a real Yorkshireman, and obviously we had a few Yorkshire lads playing, and they're all considered to be a bit dour,
right,
and dogged.
Yeah.
Now, Mick Bates was a Yorkshire lad as well. He was like that. Mick, dogged, honest. Terry was the same. Really, really, every time he went out to play, that was it. And that was the atmosphere in the club at Leeds. That's what Don Revie created, an atmosphere with everybody. But Terry was a local lad, and Mick Bates was he wasn't, he was a Yorkshire lad, and Mick Bates was a Doncaster lad. But really made up the panel. Terry got into the first team, got in the England team. He was a star man in the World Cup in 1970. In Mexico, Terry Cooper.
Yeah, starting left back.
Yeah, he wasn't making it on the left wing. But we had a few players. We had a lad called Albert Johansson,